Welcome to today's episode with Plain Truth Ministries. As we know, we are in the festive seasons, and so your guess is right. We are going to speak about Christmas, and we have titled it, How Christian is Christmas? Pagan or Godly? We are going to look into it and what has informed us to make this video. I remember very well, some time back, I did a video on Easter, and my conclusion was that though we have not been told to celebrate Easter on that day we do it because of how it changes every time, we can engage in the active work of the gospel. That is, to spread the good news about why Jesus Christ came to die. Because at that time, everybody's mind is so receptive, trying to enjoy what Easter is about. And so we as Christians have to give them the truth about Easter. That was the conclusion I drew. When it came to Halloween, I came out strongly and did a live video. You can look it up in the link below. That Halloween should not be celebrated by Christians. No Christian should engage in it because of the theme. The theme is still about death, evil spirit, and what they can do for us. It speaks about a soul which is immortal, and that is so wrong. That is not what the Bible says. And so I received a lot of questions concerning Christmas. As a matter of fact, before this video, I had to make sure I was convinced and convicted about what I was going to present, because that is what I always do. Before I present any topic, I have to delve into serious studies, going into history and using my Bible, and also looking for external sources. And so that is what I did. I spoke for almost 1 hour with him on phone, and that is my good brother, Pastor Daniel Dixon-Boating. I spoke with him. And then we arrived at a logical conclusion. I also spoke or chat with one of my friends, Rich Johnson, who is a pastor with First Church. One thing that you should know is that we don't belong to the same denomination, and yet we are able to engage in biblical discussions. That is the beauty of the gospel and Christianity. And so I'm going to use these two people. For Pastor Dixon-Boating, the discussion we are going to have now, I had with him. We engage in it. And for Pastor Richie Johnson, I'm going to bring in his point at the end of this video. So stay put and don't skip a second. When it comes to Christmas, the questions are in 4 different ways, and I'm going to engage in every single one of them. People say, if Christmas is on the December 25th, people ask, in the first place, why the term Christmas? If it's not found in the Bible, why should Christians engage in that kind of celebration? The second question is that if we look at the date, December 25th, is there not something pagan about that? We are going to look at that. The third one is concerning the climate. That is the weather conditions on December 25th. We realize that right now in Virginia, we are in winter and it's so chilly and cold out there. So much so that if you don't go outside with layers upon layers, you are likely to fall ill. And so we ask, why December 25th? When you go to Ghana, we ask the same thing, because in Ghana, it is also cold. We ask questions like that. Fourth one we also look at is, doesn't the Bible speak against worshiping God in the way of the pagans? And also, the Bible seems to speak against the use of Christmas trees. We are going to look at all of these one by one. When it comes to the pagan days on December 25th, we have 2 that most critics of Christmas use. First, we take a look at Saturnalia. And actually, the critics of the Bible use this to say that yes, it comes from pagan origin because it was a celebration for the pagans. But the truth of the matter is that Saturnalia never and ever fell on December 25th, for it was a week-long celebration starting from December 17th. And so if you are to count the 7 days, the maximum day you would get will be the 24th and never 25th. And so the usage of Saturnalia as a means of debunking the celebration of Christmas cannot hold. Second, we look at one that actually falls on the same date. That is the celebration of the unconquered sun, or if we had go into Latin, Dies Natalis Solis Invictus. For short, Sol Invictus. That is the day of the unconquerable sun. And that day was actually celebrated on the 25th of December. Sol Invictus actually became an official religion of the Romans in the year 274 AD by the Roman Emperor Aurelian. And so if you look at that day, 274, it is actually a far date. And if we are to look at that, what was that celebration about? It was meant to celebrate the sun, that is S-U-N. And so as Christians, the moment we hear things like this, it becomes a bit dicey. Doesn't mean that we are worshiping the Son and then it has been changed as though we are worshiping the Son of God. Which is which? And so we are going to go again to look at it. The next one that is also used against Christmas is the celebration of Mithra. That celebration in itself is also for a goddess, a pagan goddess. But let's take note that that celebration didn't come into being until AD 336. That is when it was first recorded that there was a celebration like that. And so looking at all this history, Christ died somewhere AD 27. If he died somewhere AD 27, then it means that actually about 200 years later, that is when the first pagan celebration on the December 25th was recorded. So we are looking in this case at the pagan aspect of it. Now, when it comes to the date, it will actually be right that the Christians absorb the pagan holiday if the first recorded celebration of Christmas falls after AD 336. If it even comes on AD 335, it can mean that they copied from the Sol Invictus, that is December 25th. But the first recorded Christmas was by the historian Hippolytus, and it was on the day. You can pause and give me your answer in the comment section. When you are done, you come back and I'll give you the date. He lived from the year AD 170 to 236. So if your date is not within this range, then you know that it's a bit of a problem. But let me give you the date. He recorded the first celebration of Christmas on AD 202. That is some 170 years after the death of Christ. And this came before that celebration of the unconquered sun. It also came before the celebration of Mithra. And so now we are taking it from the pagan celebration. We have seen that it did not come as a result of these celebrations, because when it comes to celebration of Mithra, it was by Constantine, and he was doing it as a political means of making sure his kingdom was sustained. But celebration of Christmas was actually before Constantine became Constantine. He was not even born in AD 202. What about the date? Was Christ born on December 25th? What about the climate? Let's use the climate first. Right now, as I'm doing this video, the weather for my place, that is in Virginia right now, is 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And the weather in Bethlehem right now is 58 degrees. You see how vast it is. So when it comes to Israel, I just Googled it and it gives me that. Let me read directly for you. It says that, for reference, on August 9, the hottest day of the year, temperatures in Bethlehem typically range from 65 degrees Fahrenheit to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, while on January 25th, the coldest day of the year, they range from 41 degrees Fahrenheit to 53 degrees Fahrenheit. To tell you that we cannot sit and use our own climate, just oppose it to the climate of somebody without knowing what their climate is like. It doesn't work like that, and that is not being fair to scholarship. So, if we are to talk about the climate, let's ask someone who has been there before. Let's see if there are pictures concerning dates like December 25th. And yes, there is someone who has been there. According to Pharaoh Jenkins, he had been traveling all the Bible lands. And when he went to Bethlehem, he didn't have the chance to video or to capture moments where shepherds were watching their sheep at night outside. But this is the catch. He captured the sheep outside with the shepherds in their tent on December. Now listen to what Pharaoh Jenkins said, and I'm taking this directly from his blog. I will leave a link to his blog in the YouTube description and you can look it up for yourself. I'm reading from there concerning shepherds watching their sheep out at night, if it's cold or not. Let's see. He says that, in fact, when I first began traveling to Israel and Jordan in the mid-60s, it was common for Bedouin shepherds to move with the seasons. In the summer, we would see them in the mountains of Lebanon. In winter months, they would move to warmer desert areas. Today, we find Bedouin shepherds watching their sheep on the eastern slopes year-round, including the winter months. The temperature around Jerusalem and Bethlehem is fairly temperate in the winter. Only a small amount of rain falls on the eastern slopes of the central mountain range. Both Jerusalem and Bethlehem are located on this ridge. We have written about the watershed ridge here and here. The average monthly temperature for Jerusalem ranges from 47 degrees to 56 degrees. Rains can make it chilly. The American Colony and Eric Martin collection of photos include some photos of shepherds with their flocks in the Bethlehem area on Christmas Day. The photo below was made sometime between 1898 1948 and 1946. It was either taken by the American Colony Photo Department or its successor, the Matson Photo Services. I am not saying that Jesus was born in December, only that the common misunderstanding about Bethlehem's winters is based on our lack of knowledge about local terrain. And so yes, that argument that winter, that is December 25th, is not the day for Christmas because of the weather conditions or the climate, falls flat when we are to subject it to the current conditions or the previous conditions. It falls flat. We have looked at the paganism aspect of the December 25th. We have seen that yes, there are some pagan celebrations on December 25th, that is Sol Invictus and the celebration of Mithra. Also, we have seen that there are other celebrations that occur during that time, but the official decree came after Christmas. That is almost about 70 years after the first recorded celebration of Christmas by Hippolytus. Another addition is that the celebration of Mithra on 336 was recorded by Philocalus, who added it to his codex calendar in the year 354 AD. Now, we take a look at the biblical perspective to see what it really says, if actually the date can be pinpointed or we are left blank. In this case, we go to history. But before history, let's read the Bible account. That is in the book of Luke chapter 2 from verse 1 to 4. I read, it says that, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone to his own city. So now we have been given history, and we can use history to determine when this day really was. So if there was this decree, what does history tell us concerning this? I tried to look it up, but it was almost like a dead end. But what I found was that, yes, that decree is a decree that happened, but to pinpoint the exact month is a problem, and that is a dead end. Some are saying that that decree cannot be in December 25th because of how cold it was. But remember that the decree was not to his own Romans. The Romans were within a certain radius that they would not be affected by that decree. And so they cared not about what the slaves were thinking. They cared not about what the colonists were thinking. So that can be a probable way we can look at that. Second, we can use the account of John the Baptist. Because in Luke chapter 1, Zechariah was the one ministering in the temple. So I read Luke chapter 1, which says that from verse 5, there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias, of the course of Abia, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth, and they were both righteous before God. So the first thing you should know, the word Abia in here, when you look at it in the Greek, it talks about Abijah. When you jump all the way down to verse 26, I'm reading the King James. It says, and in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth. When you jump down to verse 36, and behold, thy cousin Elizabeth has also conceived a son in her old age, and this is the 6th month. So if we are to look at the dating very well, you realize that John the Baptist is older than Jesus Christ. How many months? 6. So we can use the conception of John the Baptist. Why? Because his conception occurred when his dad was ministering in the temple. If that is the case, when was this service in the temple done by the people of Abijah? There were divisions among the priests concerning who is going to serve in the temple. So they had different divisions and groups. And so for the people of Abijah, it was somewhere from June all the way to August. It was between that time, but we cannot really pinpoint it because there was a reset in the time. The divisions concerning the serving in the temple can be found in 1 Chronicles chapter 24. I read from verse 7. It says that, now the first lot came forth to Jehoiarib, the second to Jedaiah, the third to Hiram, the fourth to Serum, the fifth to Malchijah, the sixth to Mizamin, the seventh to Hakoth, the eighth to Abijah, the ninth to Jeshua, the 10th to Shechaniah, the 11th to Eliashib, the 12th to Jakim, the 13th to Huppah, the 14th to Jeshibeab, the 15th to Bilgah, the 16th to Ima. It reads all the way down to verse 18, giving you these divisions. But when you read the book of Ezra chapter 2, it tells you that the people were taken to Babylon. And when they went to Babylon, there was a reset. So historians tell us that the date for the people of Abijah actually moved from June all the way down to October. So if it's October, let's do the calculation. October, November, December, January, February, March, April. And the angel told Mary that yes, your cousin Elizabeth is pregnant already for 6 months. So now Mary is going to start her conception. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So it falls either on January or December. If the conception occurred immediately, Mary was appeared to by the angel, then it means that it's January. But if we should give it time, then it falls on December. You see how it goes. We should not be so quick to condemn things we are not actually privy to, because people are actually scared of things they don't know. So the question is, what if all what I'm saying is not true? What if the historians are lying? What if Sol Invictus was celebrated before AD 202? What if the celebration for Mithra also occurred before 336 that is being recorded by Philocalus? What if? Then we go to what people are saying I should read concerning the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12, verse 2 to 5. It says that from verse 1, these are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land, which the Lord God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it, all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon their high mountains, and upon the hills, and under every green tree. And ye shall overthrow their altars, and break their pillars, and burn their groves with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and destroy the names of them out of that place. Ye shall not do so unto the Lord, but unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto the habitations shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come. So why did they send me this? I can reason with them that you cannot serve God the same way the pagan is serving God. No, you cannot take the pagan practice and say that is what how you're serving God. That is not what you should do. And so I get what they are saying. But remember that if someone is serving his God in a certain way, and I am going to serve my God in that same way, I should ask myself, why that way? Is that actually the right way for me to serve God? Now let's bring it to Christmas. What is the celebration in Christmas? How was Sol Invictus celebrated? How was Mithra celebrated? How did they celebrate all these? There was drunkenness. There was fornication. There was freeing of slaves and all that. In this modern day and age, who will celebrate Christmas with drunkenness? Who will go out of fornication? If that happens, then that is not really Christmas. That is not how Christmas should be celebrated. So you are not worshiping God in that same way, the same way the pagans did it. I'm saying this with that conditionality, if that our Christmas celebration came after their celebration. But if that is not the case, then what we are saying comes behind it. So we are still going along that same tangent, that if our Christmas came after 336 AD, then it means that actually we are celebrating Christ's birthday on a day they have selected for their gods. Even with that, once we are not celebrating in that same method, then we are not in that line, and Deuteronomy chapter 12 does not apply to us. What about Jeremiah chapter 10? I'm going to read from verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, and the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. People say this is a Christmas tree. I will leave this for you. What do you think about this? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. But mind you, on Sunday, Christmas Day, I would hold a Facebook Live section, and then we'll discuss what Jeremiah 10 says, and also more things I couldn't say in this video because of time restrictions. Now, before we end, I'm going to read a Bible text I used when I was talking about Easter celebration. It looks as though this is my favorite text when it comes to things like this. And bear with me. Let's read from verse 22. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God. So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I'm going to proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it, it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands. And he is not served by human hands, as if he needs anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out the appointed times in history and the boundaries of the land. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our beings. As some of your own poets have said, we are his offsprings. What am I trying to say? When Paul went for Athens, he saw a lot of gods around, false worship, idols, pagans, paganism at its peak. What did Paul do? He used that occasion as a means to proclaim God to them, even going to an extent in verse 28, using the language or the words their poets and their philosophers used. What am I saying? If you don't agree with me that Christmas celebration occurred before December 25th, given to the sun god and also given to Mithra, then you should bear with me and join me in proclaiming the good news of God. At this very time of Christmas, everybody is receptive of the gospel message. This is the time to preach the true gospel to man, to let them know that the law of God was given directly by God, for that is the standard of every human. Because we cannot attain it when we sin, we are pardoned. We don't receive the punishment for the sin we have occurred, and that is mercy. And how does that mercy come? Through grace. And how did that grace come? Through the Son of God, Jesus Christ. And that is the message we are proclaiming. The birth of Jesus Christ is what we proclaim. We are not worshiping that day, the day 25th. No, we are not worshiping God. We are not bowing down to them. So if you have a present, if you look down there, you find a red box there. That is a present. It was given to my wife. Yes, if I have a present, I will take it. I will open it. But I will still take my Bible. If it is my King James, I will use it and explain what Christmas is. Explain why we should be happy that Jesus Christ came into the world. If it is my NIV, I will still use it. Yes, I will take that from my wife and use it to explain what Christmas means. Then again, to cap it all, because the day has been given to idols, we should not use it. Then you should not even use the term Sunday, for it has been given to the sun god. The name Sunday is given to the sun god. The name Monday given to the moon god. Wednesday given to Woden. Thursday given to Thor, the tender god of tender. But that is not the case. We use the names not because of their origin, but for their current usage. So if I'm saying Christmas and celebrating Christmas, it is for the current usage. Unless you're able to pinpoint anything from the Bible that contradicts Christmas, then join me in celebrating. Let me know where you are watching from, and let me know any question you have. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. And like I said, I'm going to read certain things from my brother, Richard Johnson. He is a pastor for First Church. So I'm going to read all what he wrote one by one. Actually, he didn't waste time in making his stance known. He says, Christmas has no pagan origin. Series post 1. Why I say Merry Christmas. Christmas comes from the Latin word Mass of Christ. Mass is a Latin word meaning sent or mission. The word was first used by the Catholic Church to mean the Messiah has been sent, or we are on a mission of Christ. People have created many traditions, ceremonies, and practices around this word, but none of them matter to me. At its core, to wish someone a Merry Christmas, you are proclaiming the Messiah has been sent, and I am sent on a mission to preach the Messiah. That is why I say Merry Christmas. In the second post, he said, why I like Christmas light. There is absolutely no reliable evidence or historical scholarship that ties Christmas light as originating with any kind of pagan practice. When you see Christmas light, you know that the Messiah was sent in the light of the world. John 1 verse 4 to 5 and 9. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. That was the true light that lighted every man that came into the world. Series post 3, why I like Christmas tree. There is absolutely no reliable scholarship that the use of Christmas trees are equivalent to the practices within Saturnalia, Yule or winter solstice. Actually, I didn't speak about Yule. I will speak about it in our live video on Sunday. I have personally sat with every religious group and observed their religious winter rituals, respectfully of course, those of Nordic religious practice, those of indigenous Americans, and those of Orient philosophy, and none of them have a practice of Christmas tree. Let's go down. Why are life giving gifts and presents? The giving of gifts and presents have always been a part of every culture, pagan and covenant people. We see a clear example of holiday being created in scripture that was not dedicated by the Lord, and then using gifts and present as a form of expression, joy and gladness. He gave a quote from Esther chapter 9 from verse 18 to 23. The Jews at Susa killed their enemies on March 7 and again on March 8, then rested on March 9, making that their day of feasting and gladness. Verse 19. So to this day, rural Jews living in remote villages celebrate an annual festival and holiday on the appointed day in the late winter, when they rejoice and send gifts of food to each other. Mordecai recorded these events and sent letters to the Jews near and far throughout all the provinces of Texas, calling on them to celebrate an annual festival on these 2 days. He told them to celebrate these days with feasting and gladness, and by giving gifts of food to each other, present to the poor. This would commemorate a time when the Jews gained relief from the enemies, when their sorrow was turned into gladness and their mourning into joy. So the Jews accepted Mordecai's proposal and adopted this annual custom. This is why I love giving gifts and presents during Christmas. So if you have any gift and present, give it. He gave a lot. I think there are 2 more posts concerning Santa Claus and elves and reindeer. Let me read elves and reindeer. Reindeer are reindeer. If one had the red nose, I have nothing. Elves, little demons, you can Google that. I have enough problems in my life. I don't want a little demon making my kids anything. Take it however you want, but Merry Christmas. So yes, with my wife, I have planned that we are going to study what the birth of Christ is really about. We are going to study the longest time prophecy, the 1260 days. We are going to study that time prophecy. We are going to see all these things in the light of the Bible, because on that day, we both have off days. We are both at home. What can we do? Study the word. And that is what you can also do. It is a time for serious studies. It is a time to be grateful for Jesus coming to the earth. It is a time to rededicate your life. If you have any question, let me know. May the Lord God be with you, and see you on another day.